Tower Coffee Hour. This is your host, Preston, or Tyree, and I had a chance to be present as Rethink 35 held a press conference on the steps of the Texas Department of Transportation in downtown Austin. They were announcing the filing of a suit to stop the planned expansion of I-35 through the heart of Austin and the filing of a civil rights violation. There were advocates, lawyers, politicians, and a whole lot of news cameras on the scene. It was in front of the Texas Department of Transportation building, but I thought it more appropriate for the old name still on the building, the State Highway Building. But, however it was, we're ready to move on and get the suit filed, and we can use your help. Go to rethink35.org and sign the petition and also donate. This lawsuit's expected to take $25,000, and we've already raised a lot of it with small donations. I think the number is $10,000 in a couple of days, but we need a lot more help, and this is not going to be cheap. So please help out. We need your help right now. Go to that website and donate. Now let's go listen to the conference.
Are we good?
And you won't be amplified, so those are just for the video.
Okay, cool. Hey y'all, how are y'all doing today? Today's Monday. I know it's Monday, but a little louder. How are y'all doing today? There we go. So hey y'all, my name is Masao Ramos, and I think we all know why we're here today, because wider won't work. And for those that don't know, I'm referring to the racist monument that is I-35. The monument that TxDOT wants to expand only to further divide our city, our neighborhoods, and our people. 35 is literally the cemented result of the 1928 master plan that pushed black people from all parts of Austin into 1 6 square mile area of East Austin. This resulted in underfunding and inequities that are still here today. For example, the average lifespan for someone in East Austin is 72 years old. The life expectancy just 5 miles west, though, is 83, so nearly over a decade of additional life. In the Rosewood area, which is primarily black and brown people, a study in 2019 showed 50% of the residents live below the federal poverty line, whereas in West Austin, only 10% are considered in poverty. And just to give some perspective on this, the federal poverty line was $26,000 a year for a family of 4 in 2019. So let me say that one more time, just in case people missed it. East Austin's Rosewood area made less than $26,000 a year in a city that's increasingly becoming unaffordable by the day. And for some reason, TxDOT wants to widen 35 and further the divide between the people of Austin. We cannot allow the expansion to exacerbate the already existing racism in our city and keep pushing the social and financial inequities onto black and brown communities. The studies show that if you widen highways, all you get are more cars and more pollution. That's why we're here to say, wider won't work. It won't work for anybody. We need real solutions to Austin transit issues and to address the underlying systemic racism that still lives here in our blue city. We need a solution that helps fight against climate change, provides people with affordable transportation solutions, and that is ultimately equitable for the people. Today, we'll also hear from Adam Greenfield from Rethink 35. Adam and Rethink have been working with groups all across Austin to take on TxDOT. They've also organized people, organizations, elected leaders, and advocates from all sides of the aisle to push for a lawsuit and sign on to a civil rights letter calling out the historical racism of I-35. We'll also hear from the legal team behind the lawsuit and groups and organizations that support it or signed up for the civil rights letter. And then we'll open it up for questions from the press. And so with that, Let's begin with Adam Greenfield from Rethink 35.
Good morning, everybody. Adam Greenfield here from Rethink 35. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the community, today we are here to acknowledge a bold step forward for the community. We have filed a lawsuit against the Texas Department of Transportation TxDOT, and we have written a civil rights complaint letter to the federal government over TxDOT's plans to expand Interstate 35 through the heart of our community through Central Austin. These are not just legal documents. This represents a community standing up and finding its voice. This is a diverse coalition unlike any that's been assembled before. People of so many ethnicities, walks of life, and perspectives are coming together because for too long, TxDOT has ignored this community and has pretended like their needs, their wishes, their interests don't matter. And we're here to say enough, over. TxDOT, we will see you in court. It is time to end the era of freeway expansions. This toxic legacy should have ended when urban renewal ended decades ago. Instead, we are continuing this practice in spite of what the communities are calling out for, the communities represented by some of the people here today and so much more. This is not just about stopping a destructive practice. The communities of Austin and Central Texas are calling out for a sustainable future, one that involves shared prosperity, not just for the few, but for all. Let this letter and let the civil rights complaint, let the lawsuit be a beacon of hope, not just for this community, but for all communities facing these kind of projects, the communities who want something better for this generation and for coming generations. I want to thank everyone who's been involved in getting us this far. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience to have so many friends and such a growing community around this cause. So thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from the other speakers today. Thank you.
Next up, we have Bobby Levinsky with Save Our Springs.
Thank you. My name is Bobby Levinsky. I'm an attorney with the Save Our Springs Alliance. Save Our Springs is proud to stand alongside our friends, our co-plaintiffs in the NEPA suit, and to those signatories that have signed the administrative complaint for the civil rights violations. That is an ongoing effort, so we encourage more people to sign, and there's a website that we put on our press release where people can find that petition. Most of us here know Austin with 35. We either grew up here in the last 62 years or we moved here in the last 62 years. It's part of our mental map. It's part of our image of Austin, and we almost accept as reality the negative consequences that it's occurred in East Austin on our communities of color. We accept it as reality, and it's almost more infeasible to accept a reality where TxDOT can ignore the last 6 decades of research, of science, of data, of health disparities, and expand upon that with an expansion of 35, reinforcing segregation, reinforcing racism in 2024. We have to move beyond it, and that's why we're taking these actions. We're trying to raise attention to the U.S. Department of Transportation through the administrative complaint, specifically about the environmental justice concerns, as well as taking our actions to protect Austin's environment, including the Colorado River, parkland that was largely unaddressed by TxDOT's evaluations, the water quality of the Colorado River, where the stormwater will be taken from downtown and dumped yet again into East Austin. TxDOT has not committed to actually treat that water quality to any sufficient measure that would protect the environment. Air quality concerns are also largely unaddressed. The Environmental Protection Agency has issued guidance saying, hey, this particulate matter that these cars, these emissions are generating and being flown into our neighborhoods is impacting the health of people, especially those with high incidence of asthma. And that's what we have all along the I-35 stretch, and that should be no surprise to anybody who has looked at the data for the last 60 years. TxDOT, we've had enough. We're suing you. Thank you.
Just to shout out one more time, if you want to get involved and sign the petition, go to Rethink35.com. All right, next up we have Chaz Moore with Austin Justice Coalition.
Yeah.
Good morning. I really didn't know I was speaking, and I don't have much to say besides that. This is just a bad idea. We all know the historical context of why 35 was built. Everybody's speaking to the racial context of 35, but I think this is just another example of government trying to shove something down everyday people's throat. Something that the government is just trying to do without any consensus from any community members, especially the folks that would be most impacted by this expansion. And I think that's why we see this really diverse group of people that, for a lot of times, we've been on opposite sides of things. But in this instance, we all come together and agree that we just don't want to allow the state, the city, to keep doing things that are detrimental to our communities, that has no benefit to our communities. And this is our opportunity to fight. So, I'm really proud to stand beside some of these legacy warriors, some very strange bedfellows, as you can see behind me, and a legacy of people that have been fighting this 35 project from the beginning. So, again, this is just a really bad idea. I'm really glad to be joining alongside these people that's saying and agreeing that this is a bad idea. And, sometimes I optimistically and foolishly like to think that Austin and Texas is a place where we have some of the most and best critical thinkers. And this 35 expansion is not the case. And I really hope that the courts side with us. I hope they see that we are indeed right. And again, that we the people have a right to say how we want our city to be built. Something that Austin is not used to, or they haven't been used to. But as we continue to grow and expand as a city, we just don't think 35 should grow and expand along with it in a way that is being proposed. So again, I'm really grateful to Adam and the rest of the folks at Rethink 35 for sticking it to TxDOT because they deserve it. And also got to shout out Susanna, who taught me that when we fight together, we can definitely win. So just happy to be here.
And next up we have Pedro Hernandez with Poder.
Hello everyone. I just wanted to say that expanding the highways will not solve congestion. The expansion will result in an increase of cars from 200,000 to 330,000 in one day, which is a 59% increase. It will cause more air pollution, which causes more health concerns. With this proposed expansion, 86% of the displacements will be people of lower income and communities of color. So I just want to say wider will not work, so please sign the petition.
Again, the petition is on Rethink35.com. Next up, we have Luke Metzger, Environment, Texas.
All
Good morning. My name is Luke Metzger. I'm the Executive Director of Environment Texas. We're a nonprofit advocate for clean air and water, parks and wildlife, and a livable climate. The proposed expansion of I-35 through Austin would be a disaster for our environment, increasing deadly particulate pollution into the air, polluting Lady Bird Lake, causing the loss of parkland, and exacerbating the climate crisis. The amount of additional vehicles that will be added to I-35 will add as much pollution as a coal-fired power plant by 2050. Amid this climate crisis, where last year was the hottest year on record in Texas, hundreds of people died due to the extreme heat, we cannot afford to be adding more fuel to the fire by expanding I-35. Through our lawsuit, we've demonstrated that TxDOT has failed to properly account for all of these environmental impacts, and it's critical they go back to the drawing board, fully calculate the impacts to public health, and thoroughly explore alternatives. This is a boondoggle that will cost billions of dollars, that will close down and slow down the highway for 10 years with construction, and ultimately won't even make traffic any better. So this is a mistake, and we urge TxDOT to go back to the drawing board and find a real sustainable solution for our transportation needs. Thank you.
And next up we have Bertha Rendon Delgado, East Town Lake Citizens Neighborhood Association.
Good morning. So yes, we stand here in solidarity. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has been involved in this fight. This fight has been happening for a few years now. We are here to ask the elected officials, we're here to demand TxDOT to say no to this plan. As you know, East Austin residents would be displaced. Neighborhoods would be destroyed. East Austin businesses will be gone. This expansion would not just hurt and perpetrate the racism, the displacement, everything that we've been fighting for in our communities and people of color. I think that you all know how damaging this would be to our city, and we're asking for the demand of this lawsuit so we can ask TxDOT to slow down. Unfortunately, this is what we have to go through, and this is what we have to do in order for action to happen. We have been a part of this process since the Brain Trust. Years ago, they brought in community leaders to work with TxDOT. TxDOT has not listened to the community, has not listened to their taxpayers, has not listened to the residents. They instead continue to destroy what we're facing today. Like the speakers have said, this would be a 10-year or more year project. There's not a dollar amount to this. We would be affected by this. This would affect our city, and our people of East Austin will be gone and erased. The neighborhood that I live in will be vanished. Edward Rendon Park, what we call Chicano Park, half of it will be gone. The trees will be destroyed. Green space will be gone. So the environmental study is a demand, and it is priority, and it should be the top priority. Why aren't we talking about the people that are going to be moved out of East Austin because of this? Where is our East Austin leaders here today to fight with us on this? So we ask you to come in solidarity with us as we fight and we take this lawsuit to the courts and we sue TxDOT. Thank you.
And next up we have Roger Covine, Friends of Austin Neighborhoods, or FAN.
Good morning. I'm Roger Covin. I live in the downtown neighborhood, but I'm here representing Friends of Austin Neighborhoods, a coalition of neighborhood associations and residents, reclaiming the word neighborhood to include the full diversity of voices. Our membership envisions neighborhoods where all kinds of people can get around by walking, biking, and taking public transportation. We see this lawsuit, we see this highway expansion as working against this vision. and instead encouraging sprawl development, increasing greenhouse gas emissions, increasing automobile dependency and fatalities, compromising water quality, and further dividing our neighborhoods. Alternatives, such as the Rethink 35 vision to replace I-35 with a boulevard through central Austin and reroute through traffic to SH-130, would positively impact our neighborhoods, the city, and our environment. Thank you.
And again, if you're wanting to get involved, go to rethink35.com and join this lovely, diverse coalition. Next up, we have Eileen McGinnis, the Parents of Climate Community.
Gotta get my notes, hang on. The Parents Climate Community is joining this lawsuit because we feel a moral obligation to fight for our kids' respiratory health and their right to a livable climate. We're standing alongside teens and young adults around the world who are telling us that widening highways is not the way to behave in a climate emergency. And we're speaking out on behalf of younger children who might not know what's happening, but who are living with the health, equity, and climate impacts of our choices today. We know the damaging multi-generational legacy of I-35 through Austin, and we do not want more of the same. Instead, we owe the next generation a healthy, just, and transformational vision of our city's future. Thank you.
Next up, we have a representative from Aura. Edgar?
Hi, I'm Edgar from Aura, a local grassroots organization that advocates for sustainable transportation and land use policy in Austin and safe streets for all road users. And we're here because we believe that the I-35 expansion works directly against all of these goals. Instead of encouraging more people to live within the city and more people being able to stay within Austin, it will encourage urban sprawl, and it will push out people who have lived here. Instead of encouraging safe streets, it will increase the danger in our roads, not just along I-35, but in all the surrounding areas and the impacted communities. I believe that sometimes this is supported because people believe this is the only way that we can support the people moving to Austin. But there are so many different options for how we can support what is happening and going on here without pushing out existing residents, without the environmental impacts and the damage that will be done to the communities that are here. We really need the state to work with Austin, to work with the communities so that people can stay here and live healthy, safe lives where they can choose to live where they want to live, where they can get around Austin and within the metro area without necessarily needing to drive and be stuck in traffic all the time, and really just help us promote a sustainable, more equitable city here. That's what we're asking of the state, and thank you.
And our last speaker, Celia Israel.
Imagine if this kind of coalition and voices and muscle had been present in the 1950s and in the 1960s and in the 1970s. Imagine how different Austin would be if we had thought about things like equity, thought about things like the planet, thought about bringing us together instead of dividing us. So I'm glad for this kind of energy on this day. And after serving in the legislature for 9 years, I understand this is not personal, TxDOT. You have overlords who are telling you what to do and how to do it. and they are tired of waiting. But this is not an outlier. This is the heart and soul of the city. And I would remind us today that the city of Austin overwhelmingly agrees with us. It was a 10-1 vote. Travis County and that leadership overwhelmingly agrees with us. That was a unanimous vote, saying much the same that is in this lawsuit today. We expect more from TxDOT. They have been allowed to police themselves when it comes to the environmental controls, and that is abnormal. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results. Every major city in this country has done this and has then regretted it. Katy Freeway is all we need to know. We built more lanes. We helped those who had one car, one person, but we didn't do anything significant for those who could say, I'm going to take the bus on Thursdays and Fridays. That's equity, that's justice, that's being more thoughtful for the women and the men who are driving the heart of this economy. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Rethink. Thank you for this coalition. Let's go and mark the moment and continue to fight.
Thank you for that, Celia. And now we're going to open it up for questions. If there are any questions.
Any questions?
Legal
I have
questions.
A question. So, why do you think, what's their reasoning for doing this? Like, to me, I'm so cynical of politicians. I'm sick of it. It makes me not want to participate, right? But, you just got to try. You feel powerless. What I always come down to is somebody's property, financially, right? So who is that, right? Or am I wrong? Maybe I'm just naive. Look at Congress, at the national level, right? And everybody that does something that's so stupid, this thing makes zero sense, and I have no idea why Kirk Watson would support it, and he's going to run again. Why did that person vote against it 10-1? What's behind there? And they always make up some, rationale. Yeah, that's bullshit, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can.
And so, do you? I don't want to throw you under the bus and make you call out names. Although, yeah, I'm calling out Kirk Watson, right? And all his cronies, right? Did you see what he wanted to do at Zilker Park, right? And the code next. I'm serious.
Yeah,
man.
well, just to respond to that,
there are certainly, commercial interests behind this. This is not a project that is right for the community, that is good for the community. However, this is, if all we care about is money, and we certainly should care about the economy, shouldn't we? We should care about jobs. We should care about local businesses. This is a terrible project for the economy. And in fact, there are many sustainable alternatives to highway expansions that do produce good jobs for local communities, that do support local businesses, that lead to an increase in the tax base that then can go back towards preventing displacement, preventing gentrification. So that's really one of the important issues we're talking about here. This project should be healing divides, not increasing them. Do we have any other questions from members of the press?
I had a question. Sorry, I'm kind of short here. Rethink 35 has sued before, and that lawsuit was dismissed. Can you talk about that pivot to this lawsuit, and then talk about how this lawsuit is different than that one?
So this is the second lawsuit we filed, true. The first lawsuit was over the northern and southern segments of the project. This lawsuit is over the central segment of the project. And simply, we are a grassroots movement. We cannot afford to fight multiple legal battles at once. The community has been very, very involved in making thousands of public comments for the central portion. and we decided to go with that, to go with the lawsuit there. So we would love to see TxDOT in court over all segments of the project. They're wrong to widen the whole stretch of I-35, but we're choosing our battles, and we're very excited about this one. We have very strong legal arguments to back our case up. Another question? Bobby, okay, yeah. And if anyone else wants to chime in, any of the other speakers who spoke today want to chime in, please do.
I'm Bobby Levinsky. I'm one of the attorneys. We're the local counsel on both the NEPA suit and we've helped file the civil rights complaint with the federal government. So with regard to the prior lawsuit, that never reached the merits. So that was just, it was withdrawn before it ever actually got to court. So that largely has no precedent with this case. What we've done with this case is really crossed our T's and dotted our I's. We hired expert outside counsel from California. It's the Greenfire Law Firm. They're referenced in our press release. They're helping bring additional NEPA guidance with this lawsuit. We're putting all power behind this lawsuit, and we will see it to the end.
Yeah.
Bobby, say it.
Yeah. Just curious about if you could go specifically, Bobby, over the next steps, like in the legal process, and then also, will you all be granted some kind of discovery so you could get access to TxDOT documents?
So yeah, there's a lot of legal proceedings that are going to be following this. I think we're going to wait for TxDOT's response. We already know that they're going to say that this lawsuit has no merit. That's pretty much a standard response. They're going to say it's a community-led project. I think I even saw in a recent media article they commented that they received 18,000 comments on this. What they don't disclose in that is that they largely ignored the comments. They respond to the in their own comment matrix. They responded to less than 1% of the comments with original responses, so actually substantive responses to the comments. And their own record shows that over 75% of people who responded to the public hearing back in February of last year were either directly opposed to the project or expressed concerns. They had less than 25% approval. So I wanted to mention that. But with regard to the next steps, we're going to wait to see how TxDOT responds formally. And then we will look at what we need to maybe request for, if there is anything that we need to request. Largely, the record is what the record is, and it shows that TxDOT was negligent in their carrying out a federal law, acting as a federal agency, trying to bypass the environmental analysis that they needed to do. And that's what the lawsuit contends. And I'm not really sure we need too much just to prove that. Thank you.
Can you talk also about the complaint, the process for the civil rights complaint? You talked about the lawsuit there.
Yeah, I will be on. That is not my area of expertise. I'm getting some guidance from people who have done these complaints before. My understanding is that once we file the complaint, it's largely working with the federal agencies for them to do their own internal investigations and then work potentially with community members on potential mitigation or making their own findings of fact. We're just going to continue to work with those experts that have done that process. And I also understand that we have more time on that. They have two different timelines, so the NEPA lawsuit had to be filed by this date. We have a little bit more time with the civil rights complaint, so if there's more that does get filed, that could be a next step is working with the community, making sure that we have the record sufficient to really show the environmental injustice that's occurred with this expansion.
TxDOT is saying that they carefully followed and even exceeded the environmental and legal requirements to advance this project. So do you think they're wrong in this statement, or do you have a problem with the legal requirements?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't quite hear it.
Sure.
It's a little loud.
TxDOT says that they've exceeded the environmental and legal requirements to advance the project. Do you disagree with the statement, or do you disagree with the
Yeah, so we vastly disagree with the notion that TxDOT has met its obligations to fully evaluate the environmental consequences of the project. I think that the air quality and the water quality components of the project are the most obvious elements of that. For air quality, they largely didn't even assess environmental health risks that are associated with certain air contaminants like particulate matter 2.5, that the Environmental Protection Agency issued guidance on, saying if you are a permitting agency and you are in an area with environmental justice concerns, you have a problem here and you need to address it, and TxDOT did not.
How much money have you raised? And I know you've said this is obviously a more resource-intensive lawsuit than the last one. How much money do you think you'll need? And do you have any concerns that, without sufficient fundraising, you might hit some roadblocks?
We're not really concerned that we're not going to raise the money, because within 2 or 3 days of putting out the fundraiser, we'd already raised $10,000 to this lawsuit, mainly from small donations. So that is a overwhelming sign of support from the community with just a little outreach. So we do need to raise a lot more. It's true. We have, we're working on it as we speak, but we're confident of finding the funding needed. Yeah.
Another question. So what besides signing the petition on Rethink and donating can we do to help this cause?
Well, we certainly accept donations. We also accept people. We'd love for people to get involved, to volunteer with the campaign. This is a very diverse campaign, as we've said before, and there's really something for everyone, whether it's writing, speaking up at public events, organizing events like this one, and so much more. So just reach out to us, rethink35.com, rethink35.org, and get involved. Any other questions from members of the press?
So you want to do one in Spanish?
We have one more. I had one more question.
Okay.
Just piggybacking off of the fundraising question, do y'all have kind of a general ballpark of how much this could cost, or is that kind of yet to be determined for the fundraising?
It's ongoing. Yeah.
One more quick question. Sorry, TxDOT they're going to open this up to bids real soon and could start construction in a couple months. How do these two timelines come together? Are you concerned that they're going to start on this thing before your case is heard?
So we're looking at the potential of an injunction if we need to. We're hoping that the federal government will step in. So hopefully the federal government steps in and we can resolve this quickly. Otherwise, we'll have to evaluate our options.
All right, y'all. Well, as you heard from a lot of us here, and as Chaz mentioned, this is just a bad idea, essentially. It's going to exacerbate and continue to make the inequities and continue to divide us. And ultimately, the idea of wider, it just doesn't work. And so I thank everybody coming down here to have the conversation and to advocate. And if you want to get involved, rethink35.com, sign the petition, call up Adam, and join the diverse coalition as you can see here. All right, thank you.